A goal, Quishbilly, Huddersfield Town! The most famous goal of Quishbilly's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is! Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Droopy and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed! Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Welcome to episode 81 of the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. Another double game week and another blast of the naked truth coming your way. Coming up this week, defeats to Preston and Birmingham saw Town drop to 16th. Big Phil has been on the radio, but was it Gaga or blah, blah? An old feature returns and we'll look forward to yet another double game week. So on this podcast, which I think has been doodled by the brilliant Tom Bradshaw, let me blow my conch for the pod team to assemble. There we go. I've got to get it in at least once this week. Phil, you were here last week, so you didn't see that. Joining us this week, so not quite Avengers Assemble was that, but if it was, I think I Bagsy Thor in any case. But joining us this week, we've got Captain AMC, we've got Neil Wayne. The Iron Man of the podcast is Richard Kosmala. Ready to unleash his own Nick Fury, it's Dan Porritt. And the goalkeeper as agile as Spider-Man, it's Phil Senior. You're lucky, Phil. I looked at Ant-Man and I thought, I don't know him well enough for that.
No, that man was massive, wasn't it?
And then who is the Hulk that we see in the corner? Let's have. So we have Brady Frost over there. So Brady, I think you probably need a little bit of this.
Come to this, guys.
Okay, that you playing that, Matt? Do you record?
It's that really bad flute you can get from YouTube. Brady, tell us why you're naked.
Just fancy
Turn up to the wrong group, or what was going on?
Yeah, I didn't realise this was a pod chat. No, of course. On Friday when I got back from a run and I was all giddy, I saw Stephen Chicken was like, "If we do this, donate for the food banks for $3,500, I'll go topless." I was like, "Oh, I'll do that, mate." And then, of course, when I checked, it was like nearly $3,500. So here I am, being a boob and showing my man boobs.
Well, not quite, as we see. But yeah, so what we need to do is we need to tell everybody that this podcast is sponsored by the brilliant Magic Rock Brewing. Magic Rock also double up with the Welcome Centre at Huddersfield as well, whereby you can drop into the Birkby tap room, and there's a couple of bins set up for donations down there as well. And the HTSA have been very much involved with trying to raise money and raise donations for the Welcome Centre and the Food Banks for Huddersfield campaign. And what we did, Tom Bradshaw's online. He said hello as well already this evening. So hi, Tom. And he's mentioned that he was very kind to say that anybody that donated £30 would get their own little drawing, a little doodle like Tom does on the podcast, which is great. So thanks to Tom. And as it stands, in terms of donations and drawings that we've made, we've done over 550 quid. So well done, Tom. Thanks for doing that, and hopefully more schemes will arise in the near future. But if you didn't get in, sadly it's over and done with now. But thanks to Tom, and we'll move on to the football. So okay, from Careless Whispers.
Hey Matt, I don't know if it's a nice link, but what am I drinking? Tango. Brady's got no top on. Do you remember that Sheffield Wednesday guy, Tango? With no top on.
Tango, man, yeah.
A bit bigger than Brady and a bit less hair. I look more like you, Kosi, to be fair, if you take your top off.
Go on, Kosi, lad.
Your fantasies off. Alive.
Can't be retained. Anyway, from Careless Whispers to Guilty Feet that have no rhythm. So Preston North End turned up. So for me, we had a good first sort of 10, 15 minutes. Town defensively for me lost that game. We didn't really play out effectively from the back. Defensive positioning and playing from deep seems to be very much the platform that Carlos Corbrand's built his system on. Naby Sarr in particular had a bit of a poor game all round. But there's not just one player to blame for that. So as my little lads just walked in, so there we go. That's perks of live YouTube for you. So who wants to dive in and talk about the Preston game? Let's go to Pos first.
Why would you come to me, Matt, when you know that I didn't watch it?
Every week.
Every week. Go ask me about Birmingham. Move on to somebody. Ask me about Birmingham.
Let's move on to Kosi. Kosi, tell us about Preston.
Yeah, it was a strange game. Me and Neil were swapping quite a lot of messages during the game. I thought first half we were fortunate to be in front. Beautiful goal, lovely pass to Campbell. Great finish. But I just felt that they were kind of a bit more experienced. The worst thing was we had an extra night's rest. They played Wednesday, we played Tuesday. Second half, I just thought the old Manders, as you would say, Neil, I've nicked your quote here, but they did. I thought they were savvy, they were strong. They really took control, and we didn't really recover from that goal. And Sarr had a bad game all round. He capped it beautifully with his red. But you know what? I try and take a positive from anything these days in these bad times. And I thought last 10 minutes, I didn't see this second win coming from us. I thought we were done. I thought they'd win 3 or 4. But we came back, and with a little bit of luck, we could have maybe sneaked a point, and we didn't get it. But I've just kind of got my head around that this could be a season similar where, wanted to carry on and kick on, and it'd been great. But I just thought they were good. I thought Sinclair really showed his quality. Didn't think we could handle them. Just thought they were more physical than us. I felt we were a bit naive. But the trouble is, I just think this team, this is how it is. I don't think we've got the. I know we've got Hogg and maybe could say Steeman, even though he loves going down a bit easy in. But yeah, I just thought Preston were well coached. I were amazed after when I looked at this table. They were like well below us, which were just sums the division up really any given day. But I thought, as David O'Leary used to say, they're worthy winners at the end, mate.
Who wants to jump in next? Sorry, because I missed half of that. I've managed to clear the room now. So
both games, both Preston and Birmingham. I've got a lot of time for Careless. I think he's going to be really good. He's showed us a lot of promising stuff, but I think we've been outthought by more experienced managers last couple of games. If I'm honest, I think Preston have completely done a second half, as like I said at Kosi at weekend. The old man did second half, bullied us out of it. What I did like is that we went down to 10 men, we still kept on having a go. We actually looked more likely when we went down to 10 in second half. I think under Cowboys we would have probably lost that 4 or 5, but we kept in there, didn't we? We were still in game till the final whistle. So a lot of credit for that. I thought we started it well, maybe first 10 to 15 minutes, but overall Preston would deserve winners. It's fair to say.
Phil, why sometimes in football when one team gets one goal, we just seem to we lost it, didn't we? And then they got another. That just sometimes happens. What is it? Is it just your head's gone and you're gutted, or what? I don't get it.
Yeah, I think it was just it was a lack of kind of that concentration. I think in that little bit of a spell, the goals are poor. I mean, obviously the one where Heyman and Sarr came together, I think the keeper should have probably dealt with that. He's a big lad. That ball should have gone. And then it kind of just rolls over then, doesn't it? And I think it does tend to affect both sides mentally. I think if you see kind of like that mistake there that happens, the other team are on it, and then vice versa. If you've got that as a team, it kind of gets in your head, and it goes back to, I think, that kind of experience. You need players in your team that are going to knuckle down and get hold of that ball, and the way that Carlos has wanted to play, we do retain possession. I mean, I watched last night, and centre halves have the ball a hell of a lot in our team, and we did when Wagner were there as a coach. But there's a lot of reliance on that, and the people in front looking after that ball. And I think in that little spell there, the ball was given away too easily. And then going back to what Neil said, last 10 minutes we were fantastic. Everybody used the ball as they should have done. Pippa was fantastic, joining in, linking in, driving runs, and it was a kind of a different game, and we could have got something out of that.
Phil, can I go ask you what you were mentioning there about because obviously no crowd there, and you could hear him shout, but Saad just either didn't listen or whatever. Is that no excuse? He should have, in your opinion, he should have still gone through it, because there was quite a bit of debate. Aimer, I didn't kind of see it as Aimer's fault, even though a lot of people did. But Saad, he shouted, Matt, he kind of bends, what have you, and Saad just. But in your opinion, that's irrelevant. He should have just.
It's difficult, really, and this is, obviously, keepers kind of union. I messaged Matty during the game. We do have a bit of a union, but for me, he's a big lad. It's totally different to me. Like, it might be me being bitter, being a smaller goalkeeper, and having to struggle to get above defenders and attackers. But for me, he's a big lad, so that needs to be dealt with. If you can see that Sar's backing in towards you, which he could, I could see it as the ball came in the air. The ball was in the air for a long time. Just clear the lines. For me personally, like I say, Sar's not helped. So that is one thing where I would say, I'd hold my hands up. It's a big call. But where do you want him to go? What's he going to do? Is he going to run that way? Is he going to run that way? He's got his back to his keeper. So it's a difficult one, really. But it was just a mistake, wasn't it? And you can see it. Then it has an effect.
For me, Phil, it comes down to decision making. I think Ben Hamer's had a good season. I think it's probably wrong to bag him too much, because he's had a lot of unjust stick over the last couple of years. But for me, the decision making, it kind of led on from the Swansea game, where the last 20 minutes of the Swansea game, there were a lot of crosses came into the box that I didn't think he particularly dealt with particularly well. There were a lot of, not necessarily flapping, but it was a little bit undecisive, and the contact he was getting on a lot of them at Swansea wasn't a lot. There were a lot of small pushes and deflections, and and it just seemed another bad decision, really, to me, because I'm a small goalkeeper as well. I'm bitter, when a big 6 foot plus striker comes barreling into you, and your knee's your best friend in that case, isn't it? But when that ball comes over, for me, from speaking from my point of view, as well as a goalkeeper of a lesser standing than you and Ben Hamer, but you kind of use your peripheries a little bit as well. And if you see movement going on, and you think my first thought is danger, punch it. If in doubt, punch it. And for me, it was a not something where you would completely say 100% Ben Hamer's fault, because Nabisar's not listening, but you don't take a risk. If you see movement out of the corner of your eye, you don't, and it's blue and white, you don't take a risk. You just help it on its way, punch it. And for me, he probably should have punched that.
Yeah, take a charge.
I'm not going to hammer him too much for it. But
Well, no, because I think, like you said, everyone's picked up on it. I think he's had a good start. I think his confidence looks like it's improving. He's made some great saves.
He made a great save in that game. The save he made at 2-1 was absolutely phenomenal, to be honest.
Some excellent saves. But I just think there's little parts of the game, like, we go back to it, he's asked a lot upon in terms of playing out from the back. So a big part of his game now, his concentration is playing out from the back and getting that quality going forward. And then, like we just said there, the aerial ability within the area, shot stopping seems to be fine. But those balls into the box, for me, I just want to be a little bit more commanding. You look at Jonas in the last couple of years, anything that came into the box, whether he punched or caught, he's there and he's dealing with it. And I think when your team's struggling as much as what we do defensively from crosses, we just need to a little bit more solid in that area.
Neil, I'm going to come to you just from picking up on little bits from WhatsApp. Sorry, Brady, I'll come to you in a minute as well. When I know I can see you getting cold over there. So, James, your friend with the hat and tash, has been in touch as well and said he never thought he'd see you naked on camera as well. So that's via YouTube. So, Neil, we talked a little bit offline, haven't we, on WhatsApp about defenders. And Kosi, you get access to some stats sometimes, don't you? And we can all look at Infogol and SofaScore, etc. And I personally think Richard Stearman has been in the top 3 performers probably this season. Toffolo and Pieper, the best 2 players this season, and then Stearman's not far behind from me. But you have to kind of maybe have a look at the defense as well, and the part the defense is playing. And you've mentioned that you might switch things around, and you look at I don't really want to go to Birmingham too early, but you look at Schindler's aerial duel rate last night, obviously up against Jukovic, latterly Hogan initially and Jukovic, but his aerial success rate's around 50%, and he's not quite been as commanding as what maybe we're used to. And we all love Christopher Schindler fully, but would you sort of look at making some changes? Naby Sarr's had a strong one, and obviously this is a new system we're trying to bed in, and a few people are maybe making, it leaves you open to more errors, doesn't it? Essentially the way that we're playing at the minute. Do you think that maybe there needs to be a little bit of a think about what we're doing at the back there, or maybe we should just shut up and persevere and let the lads carry on?
I think it depends on defence. It depends on which formation we go with. I think if you're playing with a 4 like we did last night, because you've got Toffolo and Pippa as basically as our best attacking threat. So obviously the 2 centre backs with Og dropping in are left quite exposed at times, and I think the winning goal last night were a case in point where I don't think if you're playing the formation with 4 at the back, I don't think you can have Steven and Schindler together as that 2, because I just think you're left very sort of immobile and not very quick. I think Kosi's mentioned it before, he's right, and I think it's quite surprising that since he got man at match against Forest, we've not seen Critchlow. And I think for me, he'd be starting. And I don't want to go too drastic after a couple of defeats, but I did warn you all after a couple of wins just to calm your passions a bit and not get too carried away. But if he sticks with a 4 at the weekend, I would genuinely go Sarr and Critchlow.
See, that's too left-sided for me. They're both very left.
But you've got Sarr. You've got Sarr, who is the dominant force at both ends of the pitch in the air, and we looked toothless going up front, attacking anything set piece-ish. If we manage to even get the ball across in the first place, we'll go on to that later. I think you need Sarr in there for his aerial presence, and I think Critchlow of all of them is the quickest, and I think he deserves that chance. And I get your point about 2 left-sided, but I generally don't.
It's not just that, to be honest, Neil. It's when we go back to the Forest game, Richard Stearman pretty much talked. I think it was Stearman, wasn't it, alongside Critchlow in that game against Forest? But he pretty much talked him through the entire game. Critchlow's positioning's not a strong point yet. He's coming from left back to centre back, so it's not quite there yet. And Naby Sarr's also positionally, we saw against Preston, he's dropping in too deep. He's dropping 5 yards too deep from the rest.
I get all that. But my point really, though, was that I don't think you can play Stearman. If you're playing the 4 at the back, you can't play Stearman and
Need one with pace. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Pos, you watched the game last night.
I did, mate, yeah. Unbelievable, eh?
Cos, do you want to round up something on Preston that you wanted to do? Sorry, before we move on.
No, I just don't get the Critchlow thing. I mean, I know, there's a lot of games, etc., but he was buzzing after that Forest game. It's just an odd one to me. I get if he'd have played 4 or 5 games in a row and or dipped in and out of a game, because there's 2 every week now. But we've not seen him since. I suppose Carlos knows his players better than us. I don't know. He might not have been kind of fair. He might have had a bug. You just don't know. But it just seems very odd. I mean, I had to click on it.
Is there a bug going round, Kosi? Nobody's mentioned it.
I don't know, mate. It was in because Sarr was isolating, essentially, wasn't it? And as soon as Sarr came out, that was it. Naby Sarr was in the side.
I mean, last night I kind of did what you do, Matt. Have a look at some stats, and I thought, is it really that Forest game, his last game? And it was, wasn't it? He hadn't played since. It's very odd, but I don't want to make a big fuss out of it. But especially when we've been on a decent run. But I just thought last night, I thought Schindler were poor, and man, he's the man for me.
I disagree maybe on that, but Pos, we'll throw it up and you saw the game against Birmingham. What was your takeaway from that game against Birmingham City? For me, I'll give you a topic to move on to. So for me, we've played Rotherham, Preston, and Birmingham last night, and 3 sides that have employed what you would refer to as a low block, whereby they just sit and defend deep. And we've really struggled, when teams have done that for me so far this season. We like the game to be nice and open so we can do, the rotations around the right, the inside channels. And when a team sits back, Rotherham, we obviously equalised because Rotherham showed absolutely no intent once they went 1-0 up of moving out of their own half. But we played Preston, who then matched us up, 5-3-2 each, and they moved Alan Brown to right wing back and matched us. And then then sat deep and, picked us off on the break. And last night we played Birmingham City, who showed absolutely no ambition to attack really, other than when we had committed forward and then they would hit us on a counter. Are we seeing an early weak point, do you think, in terms of, if teams set up this way, then we don't have enough quality behind, to play in front of teams to actually get through? And I know we mentioned Carol Eiting before, Phil, as a really top, I'll throw this open to both of you, really top class player, but for me, I'm not sure he's quite hit the heights yet that we hope. He's shot some of the touches, the little drag back and pass against Preston were unreal. But, we're looking at players like that to maybe make things happen. And Pritchard, when he came on, do you think this is an area that will struggle, or do you think it'll come together eventually? And like I say, it's early days, isn't it, for a new system, and there will be a lot of ups and downs going forward.
I'm hoping that this is I'm hoping this is something where we will build on, because I do think like players like Eiting, if you can use him properly, what a player. O'Brien's coming and looks like he's picking up from where I left off, but it's just the quality as we get into that final third. I've been impressed with Karoma. I think he's coming on, but last night highlighted the fact that if you've got a weak link, which we all know about, the game, it doesn't flow like it should do. Us as fans, we like players who can work hard and give it all for the club, and Fraser Campbell is that man. But I still think the ball comes back to us too much. Whether it's the quality going forward into these players in higher positions, or whether it's the players in higher positions when they get the ball, it just seems to come back too much. And I think that's something that Careless will work on. And I think you can see it's a clear way of playing. It's just the quality at the moment, at the right times, it just isn't quite there. And like you said, Eiting's shown it in a couple of glimpses. It looks unreal. What a player. You know, I've sat with my son watching the game and I'm saying, look at this guy here, because his awareness is unreal. But it's just got to click for everybody. And I think if it does, I think we'll do well going forward.
I think with the teams who do employ that low block, we will struggle. As you've said, the three teams there that have kind of done that to us. And looking at how we've played in other matches where teams have been a little bit more adventurous, our system that Carlos is obviously wanting to play seems to be almost like a counter-attack. If you look at the goal against Derby, the play is so stretched, it's from a dead ball. So there's a whole, 100 yards in front of us. Teams that sit back, obviously we can't exploit that because they are camped on their 18-yard box. You had a look last night and sometimes there's, almost the whole Birmingham side, 8-9 players in two banks of four just behind the, sort of 18-yard line. Then you've got all our players on top of that as well. So you're looking at, 15, 16, 17 players sometimes in a line going across the pitch. And to break that down, you've almost got to fully change your style of play. You've almost got to go to the, teams do that against Man City. And if you look at a lot of their goals, they're really quick interchanges because you can't play backwards to the halfway line hoping that they'll come out to press because there's no interest for them to do that. They just camp on edge of box. You can't even tempt them out by sort of playing backwards to get them out to create that space. You've got to be better on the ball. You've got to look for the triangles. You've got to look for that little bit of quality. And again, it goes back to that discussion that we've had since sort of transfer windows shut about that forward player or that really creative number 10. To sort of unlock, it's just that killer pass, isn't it? Your Man City generally go wide and it flashes across, and you've got Sterling, at back post who pokes it in from a couple of yards out. And when it's really, really congested there, that's when you need that extra bit of quality, and you've got to use the full width of the pitch. And obviously we've got Cabi on one side who's sort of more likely to fall over the ball than put a decent cross in, and Karoma cut in a couple of times, yesterday, and he hit bar with a decent shot, but Pritchard, he's for me should be that man who can come on and look for those little balls. A quick turn on edge of box, just create himself half a yard that he can either get a shot off or he can just slip a ball through. Because you're talking a matter of 10 yards between our man on the ball and their back line, and it's really difficult to play in such a congested area when you've not got the quality. And I was watching last night, and the longer it went on, the only way I could sort of see us getting a goal was from a set piece, and eventually that's what happened. It was a fantastic strike by Benza. Give him credit. Is sort of we said last week he's still got a long way to go to sort of repay the debt over the last couple of years. But fair play to him. He's trying his lad, and it's a good strike last night. But to me, those teams that do sit back, I think we are going to struggle. I also think once that goal went in, Carlos has got to have a little bit of a shout on set pitch just to sort of relax the tempo going forward. We've got a goal back with 5 minutes to go in a game that we didn't look like getting up from. We still carried on, and that's the ethos. And fair enough. But to me, when you've sneaked that goal in the last 5 minutes, you've got to then say, look, lads, let's just put this point in his pocket. Let's go home. It's a point gained rather than a couple lost, and carrying on in that adventurous way. we ended up losing.
I'm not having that pause. I think under Cobra, and we've got to forget about that because I don't want to be hearing that. That's Danny Cowley talk. I want us to be going.
No, I agree with what you're saying, and I think if there's, I said
Oh,
earlier, if there's 15, 20 minutes left, that's a different story, and I'm fully with you. Yeah, keep going, but we never looked like scoring at all yet last night, and it just seemed we've almost got out of jail for me with that point, and by carrying on in that way for the sake of 5 minutes, we should have just said, look, and it's probably just a little bit of naivety from him, but to me, you put that point in your pocket and you take it back home.
I don't agree. I thought we came strong in the last 10, 15 minutes. I thought one made two there. Sadly, it did, but for them. But I just thought it was worth going for it. And I think I'd rather have that attitude where we go for it like that. And I can accept it than the Cowley park the bus, piss about with a dead ball, one side of penalty at the other, keeper gets booked. I can accept what happened last night if we keep doing that. And I think we will. I honestly thought we could have won the game, mate. Once we equalised, my thoughts were, let's win it. It won't take a point. And maybe
I get what you're saying, and I think in them situations, depending on how the game's gone as throughout, and if we'd have been, if keeper had made save after save and he's plucking them out at top corner, bottom corner, we're creating chance after chance on goal, and we've got a goal, then all right, yeah, maybe. But for me, we just weren't creating enough quality, and we weren't getting enough shots on target, and we want. To me, that were a point gained that we didn't expect to get with sort of 5-10 minutes to go. So for me, it might seem negative or whatever, but that 1 point at the end of the season, could be vital. So each one of them, people have different views. I do like the style, and I do like the let's attack. But at some point, you've got to look at the game management as well and just think, do you know what? 5 minutes to go. Can we hang on to the not hang on, because Birmingham were never interested in coming for a second anyway. They got a goal on break, which really we're down to people pushing up probably too much. If he just holds back his position, like I say, we probably do come away with that for a point. But we might do that next week, and we might get a goal. So in that case, it's justified, isn't it? But I think you've got to look at it as a whole for me.
I think you can go for it without leaving the back door completely open, can't you? Which we kind of did. But I kind of agree with Cos a little bit in that, once you've got that momentum and you've got back in the game, go and win it. I fully agree with that. But I think you can do that as well without everyone pissing off up front, like an under 12s game, where they all run up and stand on the goal line, which we didn't do. But yeah, I want to bring Brady in because he's not really spoken much, have you? We've just all sat and admired you, Brady, so far.
I know I'm pale, lads, but I'm not invisible.
He's there for candy, man.
You are pale.
You blend into it well, Brady, behind.
Thanks, cheers.
It's like an old Scotch tape video, is this? Re-record, don't fade away, Brady. Brady, I want to talk about Juninho Bakuna. I wanted to go back to Preston as well. I forgot to ask whether you thought Dan Potts should have been sent off to everybody. I thought when you looked at it in normal time, it's a blatant red card. But when you start to slow it down, you kind of think, but I think it's out of control, reckless for me, blatant red card.
Red card for me.
Red card, two red cards.
Red for me. 3 reds,
pause.
Yeah.
You've seen the highlights. Cos?
I have seen it, and I do think it is a red, yeah.
If Og stays on for that,
it doesn't matter. One right doesn't make it. It's in isolation. Red card.
I just think I'm not going to be.
Come on, stop siding with everyone else apart from Town.
No,
You're doing
mate,
your thing again.
I'm giving benefit of doubt. Sorry, boys.
Right, Naked Brady, what do you reckon?
What about Preston?
On, that's what we reckon.
About the red card. Red card, yes
I
or
know
no?
You're jealous, mate. Red card, yeah, I think that's a red in the Prem. I think if referee sees that properly, that's red. It was. Sorry.
No, that's fine. One thing I wanted to ask and throw a topic to you was was Juninho Bakuna. I thought first 10-15 minutes against Preston, he drove with the ball and scattered Preston quite well. And there's a couple of instances whereby Preston looked really threatened by him. And then after 15 minutes, he's all of a sudden doing this thing where the ball's played into him and he's backing into people and he's doing that silly little flick and then he falls over. And he's pretty much carried that on for 90 minutes against Birmingham as well for me. How do you solve a problem like Juninho Bakuna? Neil's been very emphatic, I think, over the last little while in saying you put him on the bench and you bring him on as an impact. I'm leaning that way as well, especially now O'Brien's back. What do you think? We'll throw this to Brady and then Phil and everyone else can jump in as well. What would you do with Juninho Bakuna? Do you just go, look, you're not reliable enough, the bench you go, or do you kind of like build around him a little bit and just build around that unreliable nature of him, and then all of a sudden something that can win a match can come out every now and then? But is it too few and far between?
I think Bakuna for me kind of sums up what I think this season will be with Town, and that's inconsistency. Like we've seen in this past game week, how we've been naive and let stuff down. Previous game week, we had 2 great wins. He was rightly, I think he deserved to go off at half time. I think some of the flicks he was doing in the centre of the park, especially when we 1-0 down.
We were lucky to get to half time last night.
Yeah, it was shocking. Yeah, I think it's really frustrating. I agree with Neil. I think the best we've seen him is, 2 times. Obviously, at the end of when we were getting relegated in the Prem, he was the only one who kind of looked half decent. And then when Cali had him as a sub, and I think it is, I think it is time to bench him. I know we've got Vallejo potentially coming in. I know it's a different position, but we've got Brian coming back. Yeah, he's incredibly frustrating. I was chatting to a Town fan after the game, and he was saying, obviously there was that link with Rangers, and I do wonder if he almost needs to just get away from Town for a bit, almost a fresh start. I mean, I know beggars can't be choosers with our squad at the moment, but he's so infuriating because like we've said a million times, you can see that he's got a bit of quality, but he's just too inconsistent. And I think not being funny, that's probably why he's still with us, because if he was putting on a masterclass and finishing moves like the Derby goal, he'd be playing at a high level. But incredibly frustrating. I mean, we can talk just quickly on Birmingham as well. Like he gave away the foul. That really frustrated me as well because
it was from the corner though, Brady. You can tell the full story of that one.
Exactly.
With 90 seconds of utter
Bakuna-ness.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Chaos. Yeah, but
it was ridiculous.
Bakuna, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think the thing that really, I think the Birmingham game frustrated me more than Preston, because Preston, they've beat Brentford away, they've beat Norwich away, they've actually not lost away from home, but they've lost at home this season.
Lost again last night. Birmingham at home, crazy.
Yeah, exactly. But Birmingham, they hadn't scored from open play, so we knew set pieces, and that's where they were going to hurt us. And it was just so naive for me. Like,
we
not
gave
just
a lot of silly free kicks away, didn't we?
Exactly, yeah, because you knew what they were doing, and it was just so infuriating. Like Schindler made a couple, Stearman made a couple, and you're like, what they're going to do. They're going to get close to the opposition box and turn back and just leave them, just stay off them. And it was just frustrating. I think Bakuna, sorry to answer your point, Bakuna needs to go to the bench for me. We've got some more midfield options. We've got some young lads as well. Daly, don't know why he's not in. Osterfield signed a new deal. We have got options. We've got Vallejo coming in. He needs to earn back his place, I think.
Phil, what would you do about Bakuna if you're playing and Bakuna's in front of you? Are you ripping your cap off and throwing it on the floor and throwing your water bottle at him, or are you just kind of letting him do his thing?
We talked about obviously this mindset of losing games from Premiership, and then obviously last season. You've also got a mindset of players who you're playing with, and the fact that knowing that they're not going to do what they're expected to do. So you get your head up and you see Bakuna in a good position. You get your head up, you see Cabi in a good position. Subconsciously, you're thinking sometimes, if I give them that ball, they're just going to slow this game down. As a player, for me, that's what I'd be thinking, and he does, and that's one of the most frustrating things. We get into good positions. He's such a talented kid. He's got everything: power, strength. His touch is good. He's got everything, but his decision making on the ball, as a team player, is shocking. He slows everything down. It's a turn, it's a flick, it's a silly random. Last night, I was shouting at the TV. He had the ball on the right hand side of the pitch. He ran virtually the full width of the pitch, and he could have just played the ball. It could have been one pass out of his feet, ping, right? Because he's got that in his locker, and he literally ran the full width of the pitch. What is the point? And me as a teammate, I'd be fuming. I can imagine what Oggie's thinking when he plays with him. He's just so frustrating. We could talk about him every week, because next week he'll probably do something unbelievable where he goes and bangs in a 30-yarder and everyone's thinking he's an absolute world beater. But then he'll go back and he'll do exactly the same thing. And like we said before, this way of playing now requires consistency. Think about Aaron Moy. You knew what you were going to get off Aaron Moy every single game. Yeah. If it was a simple pass, he's giving it. If it's a little threaded ball, he's finding it and he's playing it. He does all the basic things really well, and he's not a showboater. At the moment, we've got some randomness going on where the play slowed down and it's wasted, and that can't happen. It really can't happen. And you're carrying players in, and I'm sure
my patience has gone with him. My patience has gone with Bakuna. I've backed him a lot.
But what a player! What a player!
That's the thing. That's the thing, though. You get the moments like when he just rolled it out of his feet casually and pings it in from 30 yards against Charlton.
Yeah.
It can turn. It can take a player apart and make him look ridiculously daft in one drop of a shoulder. But those moments are just for the flip side of it. Those moments are just too few and far between for me now.
They're getting even further apart now, Neil. I think.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are.
There would a goal. This I can't remember what now, and it was like a 1-2. I don't know if it was Toffolo. I can't remember what game it was, and it was just a simple one touch pass, slid in, well weighted, cross came in, we scored a goal. I think it were Campbell's when he volleyed it, and Bakuna just laid it off one touch. Perfect. He's got that in his locker all the time.
Last night it was just he had 90 seconds of complete brain deadness. He ballsed up the corner, and then you're thinking, fair enough, he's chasing Lab back to sort it out, give away a ridiculous foul he didn't need to give away, and then lost his man on cross. And from his own attacking corner, with 3 bits of absolute first-class dickheadness, is basically is lost as a goal and in effect lost as a game.
Phil, did it remind you a little bit of the Sodgy, Effie Sodgy against Scunthorpe, Phil? Do you remember that one where he got Player of the Month before, and then I think he scored an own goal, gave away a penalty, and got sent off.
Those type of players are really difficult to play with because, like you say, you don't know what you're getting, and it's and I know what you're saying. No, let's just get on with it, and the players understand that that's going to happen, but you can't afford that to happen. You need consistent. I mean, not everyone can be 100% consistent, can they? But in terms of your decision making, it's got to be consistent so people can feed off you. Then, if Toffolo decided to do random stuff during the game one week, it won't work. You know where he's going to be. You know where he's going to play.
You know what, Phil? If on that first goal last night, if Bakuna is out muscled because it's a great cross and he gets out muscled by Gardner for header, fair enough. But the fact that he just gone to sleep and let him go for a free header, it's unforgivable. And as a manager on touchline, Careless has got to be losing his shit when that's happening.
Fuming.
Because, and it's just, it's basic stuff. He's switched off 3 times in 90 seconds. And
I'm sick of seeing all this kind of fighting in penalty areas with other players. I'm bored of seeing this. What they're grabbing people for, it's only going to...
I just said Bakuna wouldn't have lasted till half time with me last night. I'd have had him off.
It reminds me of I coach in junior football, and you get those players that turn up and they've got bags and bags and bags of talent, and what they do is they think that because they're so good and they've got that ability, they don't actually realise sometimes the impact that the silly little things have on the rest of the team and the rest of the squad. I've coached kids where you give them the ball and they'll take it past 2 or 3 and put it in top corner, and everyone was like, "Wow, what a brilliant play! What a brilliant play!" But next minute they get ball because other team have kind of figured them out and they put 2 or 3 men round them. Instead of just releasing it and making another run and 1-2 in round 3 players will stand there and hold on to the ball, and it's almost like, I know I'm better than you, so I'm going to prove that I'm better than you. So if all 3 of you come at me, I'm going to prove that I'm better than all 3 of you. And really, it's just, for me, it's a lack of what I'd call lack of intelligence, but it's a lack of football intelligence. And it's actually, if I play this ball quick, as a team, we will progress up the pitch. But Bakuna seems to make it into the, Jorginho Bakuna show. And I'll get up the pitch in the way that I want to do it, in the speed that I want to do it in. And it slows down everything. And sometimes you're better off playing. I know that's that old statement, innit? What is it? Talent, hard work will beat talent if talent don't work hard. And that just sums up Bakuna to a T for me, because he's actually a really good player, but playing in that way is detrimental to the rest of the squad. And for me, I'd have him out, and like Brady says, I'd be putting him to one side, and I'd be putting a couple of youngsters in and giving them a bit of a chance, and saying to Bakuna, look, you've got the ability. All you need to do is sort your head out, get a bit, listen to us as coaches, and we'll make you.
I don't think he
better
cares
player.
Enough. I don't think he cares enough. He can't hold it out of being brain dead. I just genuinely don't think he's got enough heart to be a top footballer at this level. There's no doubt he's got the talent.
I think he's one of those players where he's in danger of that. That's the way it looks. It's hard to judge from the side of a pitch whether he's got that passion to want to win. It looks like that, doesn't it? You look at his body language, and everyone used to say that about John McAllister. Look at him, look how lazy he is. He wasn't lazy. That's just the way he looked. It's the way he moved. You know what I mean?
It's interesting
what you mentioned. Really.
It's interesting what you mentioned about the corners and pushing and shoving. Darren Pearce was the co-commentator on the kind of the feed I watched.
Is that how it was?
Yeah. Or did you have it on as well?
Oh my God!
Yeah. To be fair, mate, he gave us loads of credit at the end, and he thought we should have got a draw. He thought we were unlucky, but I agree with you. The pushing and pulling in the box, you're just getting out of hand. But referee didn't do it. But Neil, I think it comes back to what you said earlier on, mate. In other shows that we've done, he's a sub, mate. Bakuna. He's a game changer. Last 20 minutes, it's like American football to me. You bring him on offensively to do something and then just take him off once he's done it. I think
going as a free kick.
Yeah, that's it, mate.
My question is this, though. So it's 20 minutes to go in the game, and we all know what it's like. You want someone who's going to come on and just turn that game, don't you? So we've looked at players like Pritchard when he's coming on, loads of ability, can unlock the defences, can unlock defences. When it don't come off, it's the most frustrating thing in the world. You brought someone on for 20 minutes, they should have bags of energy. When it don't come off, Bakuna is one of those that's in danger of when you bring him on, there's a chance that it's not going to come off. And actually, it's going to be a detriment to what you're doing as a team. For me personally, Bakuna's my right back, I liked him out wide on the wing. Give him a little bit of freedom out wing. If he wants to go and do his silly stuff, 1v1 and get past someone, go and do it, because he can't be worse than Cabi, can it?
Well, let's speak about Cabi, shall we? So,
we have to.
Well, I want to give a big shout out as well to Stephen Chicken for doing his getting his chicken fillets out, shall we say, for the donation as well that he did, which was fantastic, and it helped raise the amount to it and helped raise a lot of acknowledgement as well, and put some eyes on what the Welcome Centre and HTSA were trying to do. And I'm a huge fan of Stephen's and his 5 conclusions articles. I think they're absolutely excellent and essential reading for anyone at Huddersfield who supports Huddersfield. But I'm going to disagree with one of his points that he makes in the latest one, and I'll give him the right of reply if he wants ever. But so in one of them he says he makes quite a big thing about not hanging Cabi out to dry, and I understand completely why he would do that. And he was saying the sum of the parts, is bigger than the individual, etc. And to a degree, I fully agree with what he's trying to say. But I also think when you're trying to build such a system that we have, which is so mechanical in its workings, and it's so everybody has got to be on the same page, as you say, because everybody rowing in the right direction, and it feels sometimes like it's Oxford versus Cambridge, and someone's turned the wrong way around in the boat and he's going the opposite way. And, it does, doesn't it? It's like you've got Cabi, you mentioned Cabi and Oxford versus Cambridge going the wrong way. Amazing, Tom, get on it. But yeah, so you think of like a machine and an engine, and you think if a couple of pieces go in the engine, it all comes down, and that's where I look at Cabi and Bakuna in particular last night. And I'm a huge fan of Bakuna, always have been, but I just don't think Huddersfield is the club for Bakuna. I just don't think I think he came probably for the Premier League. And I think now he's looking at Huddersfield and going, meh, you know what I mean? I think if he'd have got that move to Rangers or he goes somewhere like that, I think that's where he comes alive. But he's very much in danger, like Phil says.
Matt, we played with 9 men last night, didn't we? We played with 9 men, let's be honest.
Yeah, and the point is, because if you've got people who are performing like this, then the whole thing falls down. I think, Phil, you mentioned this earlier as well, when you were going through it. If you've got for me, I think it was Neil said that they did a huge job on Toffolo and Pieper, and they did a great job. Granka did a great job on Toffolo, but I thought Cabi did the job on Pieper, because he pretty much went. He went and stood. He got in the way. He went and stood in the exact space Pieper was there to attack. He offered absolutely zero movement out of that, and he stood there. And even when we won the free kick. Don't go on about that volley. I don't want to talk about
No. The best thing for me with Cabi last night, he looked pissed off when he got subbed.
Oh,
yeah. I was joking. I never thought
he's probably shouting, "This should have been 45 minutes earlier, Carlos."
I never thought I'd see the day when I was screaming at television to get Benza on. I never thought I'd see the day.
He was fantastic when he came on Benza. There needs to be more room on that tandem for Phil.
I'm in club, Phil. I'm in the Benza.
Phil, there's a tandem going around with Benza and Neil on, and there needs to be more seats for the likes of me and you on there. I think everyone's jumping on.
I keep saying it, and I said it from the start of the season where the leads thing with Click, and they all hated him, and now they love him. He can't leave him out. And there were going to be one with Carlos that came through, and so far, it's looking like it's going to be old Isaac. And
he was last year, Neil, we were referring to him as Isaac and Wopser, and now he's pretty much Mercedes and Benz. He's completely next level.
The thing is, if it had been Cabi being a free chance or something last night, you would still have criticised him. Guys, he cost £9 million. £9 million.
Kosi, you know, you're talking about Darren Pearce, like,
yeah,
being positive towards Huddersfield. Did you actually listen to his commentating? Because it was the worst commentating I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
He actually said, who was their left back? Who was their left back?
Kept saying it so furloughed, didn't they?
No, their left back. What was their left back called? A lad from Middlesbrough.
George Friend.
Yeah, Friend.
He actually said
He's
Friend's had a
George Friend.
blinder today because he's done a job on Cabi, because Cabi's a threat.
Cabi's shoelaces did a job on Cabi.
Wow.
I could do a job on Cabi.
Tell you what, that
so.
Rodriguez for them looked
Steady.
good, didn't it? He looked good, didn't he, that winger?
Yeah,
Bloody
sharp.
hell.
Yeah, the Spanish guy, the right winger. Yeah,
very,
he was
very
good.
good.
Yeah, he was decent.
What you got to remember is with Cabi now, I think, we chatted before. God, I'm putting it out there. He's not a bad player, is he? Right. So he's obviously come from, he's obviously come from somewhere where he's performed well.
Something's happened, hasn't it?
He has attributes. You can see that. He clearly has. We've seen little glimpses, but it needs to be gone now from this club, because if you looked at his body language last night, he was furious. You could see that.
Frustrated, I think, a lot of it, wasn't it?
After the game, the camera was on him. You could see he was furious about other things.
Watching him.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, for someone like that, there's no point us fans. We're not going to get off him now. So there's no point us getting at him all the time, because it is what it is. For him, he needs to move on and find another club. And generally, what happens is they leave us and become bloody will beaters, don't they?
Yeah,
I think surprised because there are attributes there. It's just something in his head. It's just not going to happen, is it?
Yeah.
It's
and you get that, don't you? As a player, you move to clubs and it doesn't quite work. You know, Hogan, who played centre forward for Birmingham last night, he was at Halifax with me, and he couldn't even get on the bench. The kid were bloody. They didn't even ask him to come to games half the time. They just left him out.
That would have bad miss for them, wasn't it? Oof.
Well, yeah. But then next thing you know, he's at Aston Villa, Birmingham's, and playing well. So there's always a club for somebody.
Djokovic,
Huddersfield isn't for Cabi.
Just get him out of ours, please. Just get him out.
I think the thing is with Dick. Well,
ain't
obviously
been
we
mean
talked
about
loads
people,
before.
by the way, but you just get to a tolerance level, and you lose your shit, don't you? And last night, mine were all over the living room.
The only saving grace for Cabi at the minute is that they're in 15, 16, 17,000 people in ground.
Yeah, go on, Brady. Sorry, you go on with what you're saying.
No, sorry. I think the biggest compliment you can give for Mbenza and Cabi, because we obviously compare him. I don't think you can compare him anymore. I think Mbenza's poles apart. The only thing I will say for Cabi last night was Bakuna with some of the stuff. One of our tactics seems to be just booting it long to him for him to control, and it obviously wasn't working, but we kept doing it.
No.
And I think you could tell he was frustrated. I think that Campbell shot where he's like open and he's like screaming at Campbell. One, I think Campbell has a right to shoot that. And two, I think that says a lot if Diakabi's
that's Josh
open.
Karoma.
Yeah, I think that says a lot if Diakabi's open and you're not passing to him. And like I said, I couldn't believe
that straight away.
Yeah, I couldn't believe when he was like, "What, me coming off?" It's like, you know, I agree. It's just, there's a couple of players.
A few though with Diakabi. I mean,
79 minutes.
That outrageous volley that we've all seen 1,000
that
times.
real retweet.
Even Forest fans got involved in that, and they were laughing at that. But just before that though, when Karoma it fell out to Diakabi. And I watched it back today, and he controls it really well. And I'm thinking, you're at that 8 yard out, hit it. And then he brought it to his right foot, he tried to take back left, and it was like,
confidence, that's confidence, isn't it?
Smash it towards goal. If someone blocks it, they block it.
Yeah. That first half summed him up where he gave away that corner. I mean, it was unbelievable with that. I mean, the problem is in this team, well, it's not a problem. You've got to be able to do defensive duties as well, and he gives you nothing in that. And it's like, if he were totally quality, you could maybe accept it that you're a maverick, mate. You just do your forward play. A bit like we let Bakuna do in the games last year under Cowley, where he was delivering in that period when we were crap and we had a good run to Christmas, but just nothing. And I mean, the only saving grace you said, Neil, the saving grace I thought we wanted that away end, because that could have maimed someone, that ball.
Couldn't even make it off at pitch because it was that bad. Stayed in.
No. The volley, nearly bloody, would it kill the bank out?
Yeah. The problem is though.
The thing is though, if he's that bad, why is he playing? If Phil's come out and said that we're going to look to promote youth players, there's got to be someone in the squad or even
anybody.
under 14s or whatever, lowest age group we've got.
The problem is though,
where's Aaron Rowe?
Why are we playing him? Unless Carlos does actually believe that he's an half decent player, which worries me slightly if that's the case. But I saw someone say on Twitter, is he trying to make a point? And I don't think he's trying to make a point by playing him. But I just don't think he's very good. But there must be someone through my head. Promote,
that went through my head. 80 minutes on that pitch for me. That's exactly what went through my head. The fact that this is his kind of last chance, right? I'm playing you. This is a point to prove. Look how well you do, kind of thing. And I'm hoping it is, to be honest. But like going back to it, like you said about the kids, look how well Karoma's done. I think he's been brilliant.
We need to blow the conch for the Josh Karoma fan club. Are you joining the Josh Karoma fan club?
I think he's been brilliant. I really do. I think he's been
one.
I think he's been one of our strongest players. Yeah, I do. Yeah, just for his work rate, really, as well. And
for the Josh Karoma fan club, is that?
Yeah, there's been a little bit of quality come off his boot as well at times. So I think he's improving, and that's what you want to see: improvement and people actually trying to play in the system and follow the instructions that the gaffer's giving.
I think the problem with Diakabi as well. Pause. I'll throw this to you then. The problem with Diakabi is there's a £9 million footballer there, like we said, and that's what we've paid. And
what is it now? Then what would it be now? What would it?
It's not. There's no fee involved now, is there, Phil? No. Let's be honest. It's undisclosed to try and hide the embarrassment. But
but if they want a fee, what do you think someone would pay for him?
He's not worth anything. He's genuinely not worth. No one will pay money for him, especially with the wages he's on. Nobody's. I think Craig said on the.
So what did we get? What did we get Karoma for? How much did we?
400 grand, I think. He was around 400 grand.
So do you think nobody would pay 400 grand for Diakabi?
I don't think so.
I don't think they would for him.
I don't think they would.
I think wouldn't it?
You put his wages in as well. I think his wages will be quite heavy because they're probably Premier League coming down. I think people will look at that. If he's on Josh Karoma's wages, then someone might say 400 grand. But I think if you've got to pay the guy as well,
there's no way that anybody to get Diakabi out of this club before his contract's done. There's not an open hell that anybody's paying a fee when you look at his wages. Not a cat in hell's chance.
Because they've got to pay double. It's double bubble, isn't it?
This is the problem though with football, and I don't think people are getting it. I keep seeing people on Twitter. They need to sell Bradshaw. They need to sell Diakabi. They need
Somebody's got to want them.
The gravy train's gone. Look at the Championship. There were not. People are still at our club because they can't get better wages elsewhere. That's a fact. That is a fact. Yeah, and it's not going to be any different in January. You're going to be stuck with them till the end of the season. I don't get why they've got to be sold. They've got to be sold. No clubs have got the money to pay these wages. So people, let's be honest, let's out him. Schindler's probably only at town because no one will pay his wages elsewhere. I reckon that's so.
I think there's definitely a lot in that because you can't just sell someone, can you? You know, it's like think about it in your own life. If you've got a car, you can't just say, I'll sell it, and a bloke walks past and say you grab $5 grand off him and give him your car. It don't work like that, does it?
You can't release players either.
Players are on 10 grand a week here. What's point in leaving? You know, Diakabi will run his contract down and he'll probably go back to somewhere in France at the end of it, and someone will take him on a free because, you know, someone might take a punt on him because
he was once Mbappe's replacement at Monaco.
You know, they always find somewhere, don't they?
If he's got a brain away from football, he's now got a massive bank balance on the back of doing the square root of fuck all for the last 2.5, 3 years.
Sat in his kitchen, won't he? He'll count his money again.
Scary, really.
I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back to France and does all right in a couple of years. I think
it wouldn't surprise me, Brady, and I was thinking this, that in 3 years' time, he might not even be playing professional football. He's going to go one way or the other, Diakabi. He's either going to go back and all of a sudden he's going to find the right club and kick on, or the next club might, it's make or break, or in, you know, at the end of the contract at his next club, he probably won't be playing pro.
I'll tell you what, fair play to anybody who can find a footballer in amongst that, because he is garbage.
Yeah, and Benza, though. I mean...
What a free kick.
And Benza, we shouldn't...
What a player.
The thing is, if he were a kid coming through ranks, we'd be like buzzing, but again, we've got to think of that price tag. But last night, I had a feeling that we're going in that. You know, sometimes you get a feeling when someone's free kick. I thought we were going to go in that, you know, and it did.
He had one against Preston, didn't he, where the technique on it was fantastic, but he got too much fade and it dropped, didn't it? But a little bit closer, and the way he got it up and down, because Phil, you'll know if people build a wall.
Oh, you never say
the way you get that up and down.
No chance of saving
that. He bagged one pre-season, didn't he? Was it Man U?
Yeah,
no, he bagged a free kick last season in a friendly against Chesterfield, and it was an absolute thunder twat. It was an absolute monster. It was.
You can see he's got that the way he's got that shape. Like when he's out wide and he cuts back in and whips. When he plays on the on the left and he cuts back in. You can see that shape on the ball. He hits it so hard.
Got great technique.
I'll tell you what as well.
I was fuming because I wanted Eiting to take that free kick. I was fuming. I stepped up. I like, don't you dare kick it.
But let's have it right with him, Benzo. I, as much as, well, probably more than a lot of people, have given him absolute pelters.
And Wopser.
I meant no apology for it because it was fully deserved. There were 13 million quid of a waste of space there. But he were more frustrating than Cabi because you don't get to play for Belgium under 21s if you haven't got something about you. So for him to play, inverted commas, like he was,
but we couldn't decide. We couldn't decide where to play him. So he'd be playing up front, and we couldn't get the ball into him. And he weren't the kind of striker in England to be able to hold it up and link play.
You remember when he got that goal against Man U last game?
With quality.
There's no way on earth that Cabi scored in that against Man U reserves on a Tuesday.
He'd fall over. He'd fall over.
He would.
His foot back.
Well, he wouldn't even have to if he'd miscontrolled ball out into touch, wouldn't he? So,
the thing is,
we're all absolutely delighted that Benza's doing well, and
we'd be delighted if Cabi did. We've given him some pace tonight, but if he turns it round, we'd be delighted. You know what I mean? I think the only issue I see with Benza is that he's got a contract running out end of this season. We've got an option, but again, wages as well, Brady. The wages for Mbenza. Even if he does this 2 or 3 times, it might get to the end of the season, and the club have got to weigh up whether it's worth renewing that, even if he is doing it, or trying to offer him a new contract, or just letting him go. It's not going to be a cut and dried, is it?
I'll be honest with you. I think that a lot of that will depend on the others that we can't sell because nobody wants them. If somebody is looking at him and thinking a few bob coming our way, that might sway that one.
Well, this will be our luck. This will be our luck.
Pritchard and Cabi are out of contract at the end of the season, I think.
I think it's consistency as well. Like, obviously, he started this season really well.
Well, it wasn't just that. The best thing I thought he did in Benza was he drifted in field against Birmingham, and there was a 1-2 with Karoma, and he played a brilliant pass back to Josh Karoma. It's where he had the shot, which would have made it 2-1, but the Birmingham keeper saved it. And I thought that was outstanding forward play from Benza, and he came on with a real point to prove there. And I think that's certainly a move in the right direction. So I'm out of talking points now on the 2 games, unless you guys have got anything.
I've just got something. Does it worry you guys that, maybe it's just jumping conclusions for 2 games, but our fullbacks, you could say there's so many teams now around Europe, the fullbacks are massive for a lot of teams now, and you nullify them. And I just worry that, like we saw last night, Neil, you mentioned it, Karan Neil did a good job on Saturday. You stop our fullbacks, and what have we got else to give? And it does worry me that. And the energy levels, these 2 games.
I mentioned on last podcast, didn't I, about that with injuries, if either of those 2 get injured, you're struggling because you're taking away our 2 biggest threats. So injured, marked out of it, either way, it's a concern, but that's up to Corberan to show his coaching quality in it and find different ways.
And that's it. That's when people sit deep in it, Kosi. I think if people aren't sitting deep, then it'll work better.
And just another thing, we haven't mentioned his name, but I will. Jukovic. Neil, come on now, admit it. Last night you kind of popped in like Hamer, but I didn't think, Phil, you can answer this. I didn't think he had an open L. I thought it was a cracking finish from Jukovic. It was so unlucky and typical Town. Comes back to him. He looked like he had a point to prove against us. I think he dislikes us. And
my only issue is if I just want to see my goalkeeper dive for the ball.
Yeah, why is he standing there? He almost like.
I think Stearman ran into his.
Both goals. Both goals. Yeah,
both of them, yeah.
If Stearman's in there, I'm diving at him. I'm just diving at him.
I think that's the problem with Hamer, though. He's a bit let you deal with it, kind of that kind of beta personality.
He could have done better at first when I saw it from behind goal, and he sort of does that little hop onto it on his left foot, and I think if you spring and go full length there, can you get to that? And I don't know dive. Keeper, but just dive to make it look like you've tried it.
Classic Town.
Neil, is that a cat?
Yeah.
Mate, what a show. We've got someone topless. We've got a cat. I think people must be...
Is that James Bond villain? Look at him.
I was going to say.
That's classic Town, though, isn't it? We've equalised. We've got all the momentum. There's only one winner. Darren Pearce says Birmingham have been garbage second half. There's only one winner. It's Birmingham. It comes out of Jukovic. It will gut him on it. It will absolutely gut him when that...
it was unlucky.
It was a lucky goal.
How's your luck? Ball its post and goes straight to the... How many times has that happened to us?
No, I was just going to say.
And then if it does land to someone that we have, it's like it comes back too quick, it hits them, and then we fall on the floor and there's a scramble.
Tough Swansea,
yeah. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, to be fair, the Hamer one there, that last one, he's hit the post, he's down on the floor, he's got to get up quick. And it was close to Stearman, but for me, I just want to see my keeper. You know, when I was younger, I was always told, even if you can't save it, dive.
At least it looks
Because
like
you never
that.
know. Because the amount of times that I dived and I thought it was out my reach, and you got a little fingertip to it and it went out post, you'd be surprised. So, one of those things.
Right then, I think we'll move on, shall we? And I think this features making a comeback for the man with the golden gun there.
We've lost to a pub side. We've literally lost to a pub side.
Absolute danger, this fella.
Revving up your engine, listen to a howling roar.
Is it Jan Sievert in the crowd, a possible David Wagner successor?
Metal on detention, begging you to touch and go.
Send out Patrick Davidson to find out.
Highway to the danger zone.
Mark Saggers, Whopper.
Right into the danger zone.
Adrian Durham, absolute.
Heading into twilight, spreading.
You can't tell me Eddie Howe won't be keeping tabs on us. Hashtag SWFC.
That'll be
I've
favourite
watched
one.
your match of the day, and trust me, I think you might as well take up archery at times.
Highway to the danger zone.
Golden parachute catch.
Take you right into the danger zone.
Piss off, Huddersfield. How dare you? How actually dare you?
Some of the highlights of Danger Zone gone by, and I love those little Neil segments, and they always make me laugh every time. So Neil, we don't do this much anymore, do we, with the Danger Zone? But I think we've had someone, haven't we? But thanks to Chris as well for doing that song. So over to you, Mr. Wayne Penny. That's not a Bond villain, is it?
We'll take it. Right. To be honest, it was one that just severely boiled my piss. And
timing.
Honestly, two words: Ian Evatt. And he has lost the plot. Obviously, everybody knows what I'm involved with, and I've been involved with for the last couple of years or so with Andy's Man Club. And it just beggars belief that in this day and age, a football manager with an high profile can come out and openly tell one of his players, it was only 20-year-old, by the way, who we signed on loan, knowing he's a very young goalkeeper, that can come out and publicly tell him to man up. It is one of the worst interviews I've ever heard a manager give. And I know some people say it's snowflakey getting wound up about it. It's this, it's that, it's the other. It's not. It's not snowflakey getting wound up about it. It's everything that's wrong with this society and why blokes will not come forward and talk about the problems that they've got with mental health for fear of being told to man up, get over it, go and have a drink and chill out. Honestly, it's absolute. I'd left it alone. I'd seen it on Twitter. I'd left it alone, and I'd left it alone. Every time you go back on it, somebody else has commented, and the more I saw it, the more and more pissed off and wound up I got about it. And we see guys coming through our doors every Monday night. 2 weeks ago, we had a guy come through the door for the first time. Worked on building sites, etc., etc. Tried to kill himself a couple of Fridays ago. Tell him to man up. Don't think so, do you?
I've had a bit of a discussion with this with a lad who I used to play with on Twitter. A bit of lightheartedness at times, but
yes,
there's a couple of ways you can look at this. If I was Dear Cabi and I was watching our podcast now and he heard everything we've said about his performance and he needs to get out of the club, is that just as bad as what Ian Evatt's done to his player? He's kind of saying the same thing. He's come out. He's said it's his fault, etc. Me personally, I mean, you know, I've had issues in the past in terms of negativity. You know, Examiner used to write things, sending fans messages, and it used to hurt sometimes. You know, seeing his crap, he's tiny, he's a midget, blah blah blah, all this kind of stuff.
Sorry about that, Phil.
Yeah, I don't worry about it. I'm over it now. But it's surprising how much things do affect people. So my argument was in terms of the fact that he's his manager, and anything that goes on in that changing room or with your players should stay in that changing room.
I think the one thing with me with it, Phil, that got me about it was the fact that in his interview he said that I'm all right saying this because I've already had this conversation with him behind closed doors in private.
It's not all right for me.
Leave it there then. If you're going to have that conversation behind closed doors, leave it there. Do not come out and broadcast to the nation about it.
Because what happens then is that, I mean, to be fair, it'll just literally be the Bolton fans. But it has an effect adversely on them then, and their thinking towards their goalkeeper.
Yeah.
So they can start getting on his back, and don't matter whether you're a seasoned pro or a young kid coming through, it does have that effect. Now, in a changing room, obviously, if you've done something wrong, you need to own up to it and deal with it. Deal with the fact that you are not performing well. Simple as that. If you do the same thing at your work and your boss comes in and says you're underperforming, you've got to. I know the term "manning up" is a crap term. You've got to get the bull by the horns and you've got to make it better. You've got to make it better. The issue for me with him was the fact that he's come out and he's outed one of his players. And for me, everything should stay inside that changing room, and your manager should be there to support you to make you better. So you're picking him.
I agree.
So don't have a go at him because you're picking him. And what made me laugh, and I spoke to him, obviously, a mate of mine.
He's a 20-year-old goalkeeper who played in League Two. I mean, that's a baptism, isn't it?
Exactly. What about the lad towards the end of the game that had a free header just outside the 6-yard box? It was a free header and he missed and it went wide. What was said to him? Because he might have missed a couple of chances like 2 games prior to that.
Yeah.
So it's like you said, Neil, it's a difficult subject. But for me, the main thing that was that he's kind of let his own player down there.
Yeah, it was very, very much so. And like I said, he'd already said that he'd spoken to the player privately behind closed doors. Well, it's now not private because you've come and told everybody else. You've told the world and stuff like that. Especially in the current climate, with everything that's going on, and Mind charity sponsored football league. What do they make of it? There's one of their, PFA. Why are they coming out and supporting kids? Because at the end of the day, that's what it is. The kid, 20-year-old on loan, is first breaking in professional football. And to be fair, you can look at it a couple of ways because he actually saved a penalty the other night against Bradford.
Yeah,
and it was against Bradford and the beat.
We're going to throw that in, Neil. I think anybody needs to watch those highlights of that goal for Bolton. Just throw that in while we're there.
Yeah,
I mean, it won't do similar to Birmingham's last night.
I think like you said, one of the things is if you talk to any ex-pros and years gone by, the things that have happened behind the doors of a changing room, it's crackers. You won't believe half the stuff that goes on. Do you know what I mean? Just recently when I was playing, there'd be things thrown towards you.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
And so that's we've all been part of that in changing rooms in years gone by, but things have changed. The world has changed, and you'll see the stuff that goes on throughout the world and the times that people are living in now. There's so many people out there struggling at the moment mentally because of the lockdown, not being able to see family, not being able to do this, not being able to do that. They're all living a very privileged life. I know it's only League Two; they don't get paid a fortune, but they're living a privileged life. And for the manager to come and just slate one of his players like that, it's just not right. You can't.
100% in that changing room, that kid would have dealt with that.
Yeah,
he would have been able to deal with that within that changing room, because if you're not doing it right, and you don't mind if your manager has a go at you in front of your teammates.
But
when it comes public,
it's wrong.
Yeah, but don't that
scenario. But goalkeeping,
you see loads of managers calling players out in public, and sometimes it can be seen as a bit of a challenge to that player. Do you know what I mean? I kind of maybe because my mind is sort of different to yours, Leo, but I took it.
But the language.
I didn't take it as that though. I took it as a young kid moving up from playing at a youth level to playing at a man's level, and to me, the man up comment to me seemed to be more.
It's not.
You need to step up to the better level, not like an emotional thing or a mental
I think the thing is
just a play on maybe the actual phrase that made it seem a little bit more like that.
It's words that you can't use. You can't. That terminology in the current day and age cannot be used. And
he apologised.
Scenario.
He apologised on Tuesday, and he explained.
He had to.
Yeah. Because of the outcry, and it were kind of. I mean, obviously, I didn't see the game on Tuesday, but he was the man of the match, and I know he were pouring in kind of praise on him. But I think that's the thing, really. It's if he'd have said, "Look, he's got a lot to learn. He's a young keeper, this, that, and the other." But I think the outcry pretty much was that, and I can see what you're saying, Phil and Pos, but it made me kind of cringe, and he had to come out. Hopefully, everyone's going to learn from it, really, and that as well. I think that's the thing, and he might think he never. Well, I got my reaction. He had a blinder on Tuesday and beat Bradford and what have you, but I just think it was a bit of a.
I think the thing is, if you look at, I think the thing is, if you look at, cheers, mate. Sorry, if you look at, this has happened in a similar position. You look at Dean Henderson last year when he was on loan at Sheffield United. He made that error against Liverpool. And Chris Wilder, he didn't tell him to man up. He was like, he wants to be Man United's #1 goalkeeper. Well, he needs to do better. And that, again, I agree with Neil. It's like, you can call out players if you think that's going to motivate them, but it's the way you do it. And I think that just got it completely wrong.
He was saying the issue. What he was saying, you've lost us the game. So that's more damaging than anything. The man up shout for me. Telling someone that they've lost them the game as a kid would affect them more than anything.
Did you get anything similar to that, Phil? Did you get any, abuse?
And in the changing rooms, you get managers. Jacko do it all the time. He did it down at Chelsea. You'll see the clip when we played away at Chelsea, and I won't go into full details, but I made a mistake. And Captain Cole headed the ball and it went in.
It's about 7 foot tall though, Phil, to come to your rescue there.
Well, there were other things. There were other things that happened within that though, but I'm not going to say.
There was a looping.
I'll owe Mounds up. I made the mistake. But he said it in front of the lads. Phil, you've got to do better. As simple as that. You take that. I'd rather hear that. But if you turn around and said, Phil, you've lost this game because you did that, I think that's a bit poor because you've got 10 more players around you that could have done better in that game as well.
I think what Phil on
do
that.
you not think though sometimes managers know the players, Phil, and it's a case of I look at Town squad now and I can see certain players that you throw a challenge down to. Say some for example someone like Bakuna. We've had a bit of a pop at him tonight, but I can imagine him using that as energy to go score a couple of goals next week and turning around and giving us fingers and saying fuck off. And I can also see players that you might need to put one out like a Benzer. He said, "Annie, look, I need someone to have an arm around me." And sometimes is it different
the problem
players,
is, Danny,
different situations?
No, it's not down to what he's said. It's how he said it.
But how many other interviews though do you hear after games where managers call out players? Do you hear it all the time? I don't understand why. Is it just literally the man up phrase?
The
or
terminology, is it... man up, you cannot use it. You cannot.
Well, the sentiment's the same, and it's just a turn of phrase.
Yeah.
For me, anyway, that's just how I see it.
You can't use it. You just can't. It's wrong. It's every level of wrong. I see this every week.
I agree to disagree on that one then, but I personally didn't see too much wrong with it.
Well, I'll talk you through suicide figures and death rates if you want.
But you don't need to know how, because I know you're involved in it, and you know what I mean. And
the terminology. Anybody can disagree with the terminology, but you're wrong. It can't be used.
I think the thing for me on that is like. It's what you said, Phil. It wasn't just man up. He absolutely destroyed it, but like 1 minute of absolute vigil. And he came back to it and all. It wasn't just like, like man up. He was like, and I'll say it again, he's cost us the game. We were just like, mate, you've lost it. And I was stunned to beat Bradford. And it sounded like, to be fair, Bradford should have beat him. But yeah.
Nah. People don't go and talk. People don't go and open up, men in particular, because the fear of being judged, the fear of the stigmas attached to it. And the man up phrase epitomises everything that's wrong with how people speak or don't speak about mental health. It just cannot be used. It's every level of wrong. So
Neil,
some good words there, Neil. I think there's some good words.
I think
Neil, I understand where you're coming from, Pos, but I think I'm going to side with Neil on this one.
Sorry, Neil, just a quick one. Do you think that how, because it was widely condemned and rightly so, do you think that's a positive thing? In the sense that he made an awful comment and it was just criticised completely.
Yeah, to be honest, I think sometimes you can actually use that for good. The fact that it has been picked up on by so many people, and it's you can't throw. There were Bolton fans, in particular, throwing around the don't be snowflakes, etc., etc. We might have got that if it had been Corberan that had said it, but the long and short of it is the terminology is Stone Age and he cannot use it. But the fact that it was highlighted and he's been made to apologise, etc., you can turn that into a positive now, and more people now are aware that that sort of language is just it's gone, it's been and done, and it just can't exist in modern society.
I think Posy were on the lines. Were like, obviously, you're talking each individual's totally different. And I think that's probably, Neil, where it does become difficult for everybody because you're closely contacted with issues such as that, where people have struggled with that kind of terminology. But like Posy said, like there's other people who don't, and that's that's where it becomes difficult, and that's where the line is. Because if someone turned around to me and said that, I'd be fine. Whereas somebody else, it's totally different. So it's difficult, isn't it? And like you say, like for somebody who's in a position like Everett is,
there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it.
It's just wrong in all.
It's a one-to-one thing. It is. If it's a one-to-one thing, and he's like you said, he's spoken to him in private. We'll put this to bed in a sec. I think we've done it now, but the fact that he's done it in private, don't then come out and do it publicly. Leave it private. You know your goalkeeper. Talk to him, and then give him the support he needs behind the scenes to get.
Cool. So we'll move it on from there, guys. Good chat, and I think there's definitely a good debate to be had. Debate to be had on that, and some good words from both Phil, from all of you there. Kosi, I'm going to turn this over to you now. So we're going to give you the mic that you get accused of eating from time to time on this podcast.
I've still got my shirt on. 2 defeats or 2 wins, mate. We're still on a still, haven't we?
You wanted to talk about Gary Neville, didn't you, on the Monday Night Football?
Mate, again mixed up with someone else.
One of it,
Neville,
it's all the same. It all sounds the same to me.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else watch it. I must admit, sometimes I don't really watch Premier League football, but what I do like is the best part of Monday Night Football for me is the debate after and before. And Gary Neville went in 2-footed, Jonathan Ogg style, on the kind of state of the game, which was really interesting, to be honest with you. I mean, he kind of sat a bit uneasy with me a little bit because of his Salford City kind of connections and Peter Lim and what have you, but bottom line, he was calling out the Premier League. And it was interesting, we were mentioning some of our debates there. The PFA standard have been absolutely waste of space, kind of in the bid trying to get British football back in. And yeah, I mean, it's just pretty much what we were kind of saying last week with the Project Restart or whatever. Not Project Restart, got that was the old one, wasn't it? Big picture, where basically we're saying, look, we're out of order. Liverpool and Man United, what they're doing, but something's going to have to happen pretty quick, really, to kind of save football. And I mean, Phil again, we're mentioning it on his Radio Leeds thing. And to be honest, guys, I mean, Germany, I think there were 10,500 tickets sold for the Borussia Mönchengladbach Real Madrid game. No one got in. Schalke, no one's getting in. Germany's in lockdown. It is lockdown. Neil, I think what you're saying, mate, is pretty much coming home to roost. I can't see us getting back in ever at this rate. But something's got to give. But it's just a power grab. I mean, I don't know if you saw that Barcelona president fell on his sword the other day. But one of the things he kind of mentioned is I've put us forward for the European Super League and all this stuff coming together. There seems to be a real reluctance, I think, from the top clubs to help out. And obviously it leaked out that bigger picture. And it's just not good, is it, really? Because there doesn't seem to be any effort to kind of help anyone else, really, apart from the big six. And yeah, Gary Neville just kind of lost it, really, in that as well. I don't know what you think, Brady, but I just think at the moment we're going nowhere. There's nothing being said this week. What's happening, man?
No, I think, sorry, Kosi, just quickly, I agree. I think, I don't know if we're going to come on to it, but Phil Hodgkinson's interview with Radio Leeds, I think what shocked me was he said no one from government's spoken to anyone in football about fans returning, and I think, like he said, and I do agree with him here, it's what's their issue? What's their issue with it? I know the cases are rising, but when other stuff's opened up, like we've talked about, it's open air. You could, you could quite easily socially distance at a football ground, have less fans in. And I think it's just really disappointing. And I think the thing is with Project Big Picture, we're not surprised, are we? We're not surprised that the top six want a cash grab. And, I talked about it last week, but they offered that bailout of 50 million. But it was only to League One and League Two clubs, and it was actually 20 million, and the 30 million is if someone goes bust. Well, that's not good enough, and clubs are going to go bust. We've said it. Everyone says it. We know clubs are going to go bust. I wouldn't be surprised if quite a few clubs go bust before Christmas. And then what's going to happen? It's just going to be like another Bury, another Macclesfield. But it affects the communities. It affects the villages. I know we sit here and bang on about football, but football is so important to the community. And look at the Town Foundation with what they do there. If Town went, as an example, what happens to that?
Brady, Neville's point were good. I love the fact, because he was saying something like Sunderland and Stoke, they've been in Premier League. It almost seems to be like the people in that Premier League now, it's like it's their money and they get to decide. I'm sorry, but some of these clubs have been in there 8 seasons. This Sunderland have always been in there. It's almost like they just think they should decide, kind of, we're in there now, so you can dance to our tune. Bollocks, the game is for everyone, man. It's not just for Go
back to what Rick Parry said, Kosi, where he says, why should Huddersfield Town get the same vote as Manchester United? That was a disgrace, considering we've been out of the Premier League for almost 2 seasons now, and we're still living rent-free inside their heads, aren't we, so to speak.
I can kind of see what he's saying, Matt, in the fact that the bigger teams they bring
I think he's a prick.
But
Parry.
It just is frustrating. It's almost like now once you're in there, and honestly, if we were still in there, I'd be just saying exactly the same, because I think we're good kind of fans and kind of club. But it feels to me, honestly, I love watching Spanish football. But if Barcelona and Real Madrid want to play in Super League, then piss off and just leave us all to it.
It's scary, really, to think
if your top 6 want to go set up a league, or whoever, Man United and Liverpool going to this European Super League, then let them. But there's got to be they can't just then decide in 5 years, we don't like this, I want to come back. I think that's, for TV it's really good, but for actually match day fans, imagine being a Liverpool season ticket holder and having to fly to Madrid, then flying to Munich, then out to Italy. You just won't be able to physically. Well, you won't be able to afford it for the start.
There's no jeopardy though, Pos. It's a closed shop. There's 18 teams they're talking about, and that a closed shop, and they're talking about the initial people not being able to be relegated for 20 years from this league. And there's no jeopardy. Who's going to watch a league whereby there's no jeopardy? People are complaining at the minute about Burnley. I hate this elitism that goes on online on Twitter by dickheads on football Twitter. I can't stand that channel. And it's just, that medium, I should say. And it's just people going, Sheffield United versus Burnley. Who wants to watch that? I'd watch that over Man United versus someone else, whereby it's a billionaire team versus one that's trying to build properly. For me, proper football, Sheffield United and Burnley are proper football clubs doing things in a proper way. And it really annoys me that people that are saying, I'm not going to watch this, because that European Super League, if it's Juventus versus, I don't know who else is going to be there, Juventus versus, let's say, Atletico Madrid, because Kozi's in this, and they're 12th and 15th, people are going to say the same thing. They're going to say, I'm not bothered about watching 12th versus 15th in this European Super League, and it'll just go around in some cycle again.
It's
and
like
people
that
have just got to realise that competition itself, stop trying to kill competition and maintain a status quo. Off, you know what I mean? It pisses me off.
League, though, maybe because I'm just a little bit older and I don't have as much time as what I used to, but I used to love watching Champions League.
I don't watch it
anymore. Before all group stages came in, and then they expanded it, because you got to see the sort of the cream of the crop. And you look at that now, and all they did was they made it into group stages so they could get more games, therefore they could make more money. You'd argue that your lesser teams from lesser countries, got in it, so that might improve them and stuff like that. But you get to a point now where there's no. Sometimes winners of actual leagues don't get in favour of someone who finished 3rd or 4th in their domestic league because they're a bigger club. And if you qualify for a competition on merit, then you should be able to have just as much say or just as much chance as anybody else within that competition. It's like football historically, they've always seemed to. Look at your FA Cup. Your big teams don't come into round 3. Why put them in a round 1? And if Bradford Park Avenue draw Man United at home, they draw Man United at home, and it's brilliant for them.
That's what football is about.
That elitism.
It's the pay-per-view. The pay-per-view thing is just bullshit. And all of a sudden now they're trying to back down on it a little bit, but still, it's still pay-per-view. Even Neville slaughtered Sky for putting. It's not really Sky and BT's fault. It's the Premier League have kind of put it on their kind of platforms to use. But again, that's just another example. The European Super League, the pay-per-view, the fact that the government, and rightly so in my opinion, are saying, you've got the money, you sort it out between your football people. But they're not. And it's disgusting at a time, really, where you're seeing everyone helping Marcus Rashford and what have you doing a lot of good stuff. And there's a lot of other people doing stuff, with charities and stuff. But yeah, again, football just needs to look at itself, and it's pretty disgusting, really. And I'm
what
not
a guy
good...
Marcus Rashford is, by the way.
Oh man, he's not a bad footballer now, is he?
No,
Hat-trick last night, wasn't it?
Oh, wasn't he got that hat-trick last night after? Because people were saying, "No, concentrate on football, stay out of politics," and then he goes and bags
people
an
saying
hat-trick.
stick to politics
now. Pause. I skipped one point on this thing as well. So Monday night, that Project Big Picture makes me too angry, so I'm going to check out of that for a bit. But I get too frothy. Start frothing around the mouth around here. It goes into the beard.
On the old beard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not a good look. But yeah, Big Phil did an interview. Big Phil Scolari. We're going Big Phil Scolari there. Phil Hodgkinson did an interview on Radio Leeds, didn't he, before the game? I thought it came across quite well when he did it. I didn't think there was a lot of info there that wasn't in the Stephen Chicken interview, but I thought Phil came across pretty well overall and quite sensible. How did you listen to it this afternoon? So it should be fresh in your head. How did you find it?
With what he said. I think he's done what we all wanted him to do and sort of learned from previous mistakes. And he said openly in that interview that sometimes when you say stuff you shouldn't have said as a chairman, you learn from it. And he seems to have done that. He sometimes differs wildly from interview to interview in what he says, but that seemed to sort of follow suit in what he said to, Stephen Chicken, whether, Dale, what's it called, Dale Trefoil Sykes had a script held up behind Oggy to make sure it didn't go off piste, I don't know. But to me, he spoke sense a lot. And, after his interview last week, I think I said, can't remember if it were on here or elsewhere, that if that's his plan, then, and it keeps football club going, then, sort of fair play to him. But, to hear that clubs could go bust as soon as November and December, back in the year, then, it is quite worrying. But no, like I said, it came across well. I've just noticed, having a quick scroll through my phone, that the Canal Side video has been put up, which I've
got it on this screen over here, yeah. I've got it. I'm trying to
I think it's 50 minutes long, so, I don't know if it's showing the actual physical construction of it or just a quick tour around, but
it's a tour by the looks of it. Mike Devlin's giving a nice tour.
So, fair play to him for getting that out, and hopefully that'll, quash a lot of rumours and things said about that. So, they're moving in the right direction with it. Hats off to them. They've sort of listened to feedback and taken it on board, which is good.
Anyone else want to chip in on the Phil Hodgkinson interview?
Yeah, I think again, I agree. I think he said a lot of good stuff. I think he might have been addressing us when he said, I heard some people have said that we've got a weaker squad than we did last season. Now he disagreed with it, but I think we touched on it last week. Like, we wanted to hear from them. They were talking to everyone else apart from us, apart from the fans. They've done the interview with Stephen Chicken. He's done the Radio Leeds. I think it'd probably be best for him, to like I say, results on the pitch now and just maybe step away, because I think whether it's right or wrong, I'm glad he's addressed some of the stuff. But I think if you're hearing a lot from a chairman, I think it's a bad thing. I know that's probably very hypocritical of me, given what we're saying in previous weeks. But he needs to be working in the background as to the whole board of directors, I think, really.
Right, so I'm trying to watch this Canal Side video at the same time here, which is obviously going to be impossible. But I'm just watching Mark Devlin's mask constantly slipping down all the time like this. It's quite funny. He's pulling it up, and then he's having to pull his trousers up every 5 seconds. It's 50 minutes is this video. They're showing the complete change, and they're trying to go in as much detail as possible. And Adam Tomlinson and Mark Devlin are both sort of walking around and saying what's changed from each room to room. And I've been in Canal Side quite a bit, in what I've done, and I've seen it, and it's looking quite. 10 minutes into it now. It's looking quite positive, which is good. I don't think it'll answer a lot of the burning questions that people have got, which was along the lines of when Dean said there's 20 million set aside and they've spent, was it 7 pods that they've spent on it? So I don't think it's going to answer any questions like that. But if it does, that's great. And also, I don't think they're going to be doing the Victorian Tower. They were going to do a mock Victorian Tower of. It's the one, isn't it, on the Huddersfield Hill, isn't it? Phil, you live in Huddersfield. You can tell us if is it Queen Elizabeth Tower, Queen Victoria Tower? What's it called?
I have no idea. It's just that massive tower, isn't it? That I used to go and play and fly a kite next to when I was younger.
That one where you can go and fork into Lancashire. That's pretty.
Hey, I'll tell you what though. Going on, obviously training ground topic. What a massive difference that makes for your club. If to entice players to come to your club and to take them to Stores All Woods and to show them porta cabins and the half a mile walk down there to fields that drainage isn't great. It's what a setup! What a setup! If you can't get things right with a setup like that down there, then you're struggling, and you'd be surprised how many clubs don't have setups such as.
Does it matter as a player? Does it matter? Does it?
Yeah, massively. You've got everything there. If you want to progress it and be the best kind of, be the best player that you can, the facilities that they've got there will allow you to do that. No doubt. Are you
familiar with things like cryo chambers and all this and what have you that they have going on there? And I thought cryo chambers were those that you fell into on Future Armour, and then you.
Tell you what, it were that bad. We were that hard. I mean, you think about the money that we've got now, and we complain. Obviously, where's it gone? When I were there, we never had a goalie coach. In fact, when Jacko
doubled up, didn't he?
Well, when Jacko first took over, I mentioned to Jacko. He said Lee Martin. About being a physio, I says, he's a good qualified goalie coach as well. So that worked well. But because it was so busy, we had to go to Bolton and train with Bolton. So we trained with Ian Walker, Justin Askelainen, and that Al Habsi, who has no idea how to catch, but just punches everything. And coach were like, "Oh, what a save! Couldn't catch for life in it." And they had everything. They had a room with these two Chinese people doing acupuncture, like all Zen and stuff, and players in there. And I never forget they had them cryo chambers, and they had the big ice baths. We used to have like something like a kind of like an hydraulic thing that you just put in the bath and set it off, and we
like
threw ice in. We thought that were good enough for us. They literally had these massive baths that were, and that. Was it what would he call now? That big Jahidi who played centre half for Bolton. I've never seen anyone as big as him. His quads were bigger than me, and he just jumped in this bath and splashed me and this other keeper. And they just had everything. And this were 38 tomorrow. So I was 20. So a good 18 years ago, and they had all of this. And Town are just about getting it now. So it says a lot.
Yeah, the video
makes a massive difference.
The video looks good, so we'll probably go into this in a bit more detail when we've had a chance to watch it and take it in.
2 games are difficult, aren't they? Bloody hell! If you don't want to, Bristol City have dropped off a bit, but they're still 6. Millwall are 3rd. It's going to be a big test for us, I think, especially on back of 2 defeats.
Brady's the man with the preview, aren't you, Brady? So do you want to take us through the previews for Millwall and Bristol City?
Yeah. So Nick Hart from Acton Millwall podcast, there's a preview going out tomorrow. He was banging on about Jake Cooper, who's their centre back, who is huge, 6'6". He's class, a real Rolls Royce of a defender. I think it's a good job Naby Sarr's ban was only 1 game, because I think we'll need him, especially for those aerial duels. Interesting one. I mean, Millwall, obviously we lost their 4-1 last season. I know it was a game that didn't really matter, but tough game that.
They won at Preston, didn't they? Which says a lot after the way they dismantled us.
Yeah,
they
were really good.
They haven't got a coaching team, have they? Because they're all locked down because of COVID. So
so it was their centre
coaching team.
Millwall. Yeah, so it was their centre back on the touchline against Preston. So
hang on a sec, Scotty Malone. No, he is so wonderful. Get your money on first goal scored on Saturday, man.
What a player!
Bonnie Wallace. That's
Bonnie Wallace.
He's played all right. And they've got Sahor on loan from West Brom. Who
I'll tell you what.
Didn't see that shot, but he actually played really well. So tough.
Expect lots of balls in the box and high.
Mm.
Because if I were a scout watching us, I'd be putting balls into the box all day, because they are big, physical, powerful, and
we need to be a bit more streetwise. Last night we're giving away free kicks every minute, weren't we?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, hopefully we'll learn.
Boom.
I'm not optimistic for Saturday, but then that don't mean a lot in this division, man. But
Have they got Matt Smith still down there as well, Brady? Is he still one of their options? Because he scored quite a few against us down the years, hasn't he, for Millwall last year at home?
Sub on there.
Dropped it,
they were sub.
And scored against us for Leeds as well.
2-0 win Saturday.
2-0 win.
2-0 win.
Nice.
We're at that stage already, Brady, with the predictions, and we need to start doing a table, don't we? And
I was good. Yeah, if anyone wants to help me out with a clever table, we can do that. Should I get them off air, or should we do them on air?
No, do it. Yeah, let's see how bad we are.
I know how much Neil loves it. So
look at his face.
Right, go on then. Millwall, I think if we got a 1-1 draw, I'd be happy with that. So I'm going to say that.
We're going out on a big sesh. Tier 3, forget it. We're out all night.
Go on then, Kosi.
On your own, Kosi.
I think we'll get beat 2-0. Sorry, I just think they're going to think Huddersfield Town. I mean, they've had an extra night's rest, haven't they? And also, yeah, bring it on, man. But
who needs rest?
Mind you, it didn't work for us against Preston.
Yeah,
but,
Preston didn't they?
Yeah. No, I think could be a struggle, mate. Saturday. Sorry, 2-0 Millwall.
You say 2-0 for us, Phil?
2-0
for us.
Nailed on. 2-0 for us.
Nice. Pozza?
Hamer 2.
But in his own net. Yeah, I think it'll be a tough one. The only sort of thing I can think of is if Millwall, they're at home, they're doing all right, they'll actually try and attack, unlike Birmingham did. So if they do that, and we can, look at defending these crosses and playing quickly up the pitch and trying to hit them on counter attack, we have got a chance. I don't think we'll lose though, saying that. So I'll go with 2-1. Sorry, you were waiting for a win there, weren't you, Phil?
I was.
Big build up.
I thought we were going to get a draw out of it. I thought we were going to get a draw out of that one.
Oh, Brady did preview, but you've lost your job, Brady.
I know, mate, yeah. Go on then, Neil. What are you saying?
2-0 Millwall.
All right. Back to the positivity, lads.
Matt, come on, mate.
Go on, Matt.
I think we will go 1-0 up, but end up losing the game 2-1.
Another song coming Tuesday night. He's from Bermuda. If he hadn't scored that penalty at Wembley, would have been knackered. Knacky Wills. He's back, mate. He's back.
What on earth?
Yeah.
Oh, Bristol. I thought we were still on about Millwall for a second.
Looking confused. Move on. 7 o'clock kickoff.
Looking ahead.
Within it, 7:45, because we'll be 3 up by then.
Why have we got so many games so fast? What's going on? Is it because of
look at December, mate.
Because season started late, mate. Where you been?
I know, but there's like every week now, isn't there?
Gotta fit the
Euros. Tier 3, that's
why.
why.
Season, or what?
Tier 3.
You've added another game in because of Tier 3.
Yeah, Bradford out though. Bradford Tier 4. Whee!
Yeah.
Bristol City's a weird one. We played well against them last season. Remember when we dismantled them on a Tuesday night with poison
Oh,
dwarf?
should have won about 5, shouldn't we?
I hate watching us play Bristol City at Bristol City. I've never seen us play a decent game down there.
Good job on it.
The cameras on no one either.
Yeah. Yeah, doesn't it? Yeah, it's massive.
Are we doing predictions for Bristol as well then?
Yeah.
2-1 Bristol.
Are we home? We're at home against Bristol,
4 defeats in a row. Bloody hell.
Yeah, it's home, Phil.
1-0 Town.
Nice.
We're bouncing back 2 wins in a row.
Love it, Phil.
Anyone else?
I'm going to say we're going to. Yeah, I'm going to say
3-1.
2-1 Town, Brady. I think we'll beat Bristol.
Nice.
2-1 Bristol City.
Nice. With top off. Nice. Nice.
Cool and nice.
Show us your hands.
God, you got me all red. Phil.
And space. Just remember, Brady.
Brady's flustered.
First time we've seen his nipples all night, isn't it?
That's for the
It's like naked
Patreon,
attraction.
if you pay more.
It's gone past 9 o'clock. We're past the 9 watershed, aren't we? Brady's going to get his nips out. Yeah.
Give me your score, man, please.
I'll go for a Desmond to win.
Lovely.
Good shout, that.
Kosi?
I think we'll win 3-1, mate. I think there's no sense in this season, man.
3 in one game.
Yeah, mate.
3.
Yeah, Danny Ward's going to come off.
2 on goals. Penalty.
Ward's going to slide on his knees in front of the
fit now?
couch.
No,
hang on.
mentioned next after the next international break for Danny Ward, so he won't be playing.
Right.
Sorry, Cos. 2-1 is it now?
Yeah. John Thorrington, then, mate. John Thorrington.
Whoa, what a guy you are.
USA.
What a guy.
I think we'll win 2-1 against Bristol because I think they'll try and attack us. And they're in a bit of bad form recently. And,
yeah, Brady. 17th at form table, mate.
Yeah.
Continues. Let's have a
Just before we shoot off, I want to drop something in. Just about Huddersfield Town women, their manager Jordan Winpenny has been nominated for Manager of the Month. There's a poll for you to vote in, so I'll tweet that out afterwards. But
I've retweeted it from the Takes That Chance account as well.
Lovely stuff. Got a 2-1 win at the weekend as well, so cracking on. They're playing on Sunday before the tier kicks in on Monday. So again, 2:00, Stores all.
Doing well out there.
Doing great, yeah.
Decent side. Yeah. So thanks everyone for tuning in. I don't think anybody's left online. I think they've all gone to watch the Canal Side video now. So thanks for joining us tonight, and thank you for listening. Thank you to Magic Rock for sponsoring. Big thanks to Tom for drawing and getting involved with the food banks with the Welcome Centre as well. And Brady's got one more thing.
Sorry, just on Tom, because I saw him post it. He's got his top trumps that he's done for the foundation. They're out on sale tomorrow. So
absolutely, and also should mention as well the top trumps Brady, and that if anybody ever wants their meeting to be scribed by somebody like Tom actually now does a service whereby he will sketch out a meeting. So if people have a Zoom meeting, he will do that as well. So check Tom out as well. So at Tom Bradshaw or Tom Bradshaw, isn't he on Twitter? So okay, thanks for joining us, and hopefully we'll be.
Thank you.